My name is Dave Luber. I'm the Executive Director of United States Cyber Command, but today I'm actually here representing General Nakasone in his capacity as the NSA Director. So let me talk a little bit about NSA. I know that this is a GEOINT conference, but I know that there may be some folks in the audience that know a little bit about SIGINT, and I'd like to tell you a little bit more as I go on through my discussion today. So NSA has two primary missions. First, we have the signals intelligence mission. Second, we have the cybersecurity mission. In the SIGINT mission, we learn about what our adversaries are doing, and then we inform our military leadership, our policymakers, and our leadership through our government and our allies on what's going on in the world of signals intelligence. And in the cyber mission, we are focused on protecting those national security systems, those systems that we rely on each and every day to ensure that we have secure communications, secure cyber capabilities, and ability to have command and control systems for our warfighters. So these two missions, while they may sound mutually exclusive, are often working together every single day to ensure that we protect and defend the national interests, our national interests. Let me talk a little bit about the threat landscape for a minute. You've probably all heard about the 2+3 activities that are going on within the intelligence community. But let's face it, we are in an era of great power competition. When you think about Russia, China, Iran, DPRK, and violent and extremist organizations, there are some real challenges that we have and that we need to work together on. Because this environment is always dynamically changing. It's not a static environment. It's a place where some of these areas are constantly in change. In some cases, these adversaries don't share our values. And in some cases, they're operating below the level of armed conflict. So if I was just to take a moment and diverge a moment and talk about the cyber threat, we all know that there have been governments that have been out stealing intellectual property. We know that they've been stealing personally identifiable information, and even using proxies to conduct malign influence in our government and against even our electoral process. Collectively, these activities are corrosive. And when you think about that, that's something that we all need to work together on as a whole of government effort. So our threats are not just in cyber. Our adversaries are also modernizing their military systems. They're operating differently in the space domain, and they're rapidly developing new technologies and implementing those within their warfighting systems. So at NSA, we use our authorities and our talent to help the nation understand what's going on in the world, and then help our leaders make the best decisions, develop the best plans, policy, and drive their operations. So let me talk to you a little bit about our competitive advantage. So when I talk about a competitive advantage, the first thing I think about is the people in the intelligence community. When I look at NSA, when I look at NGA, I get a chance to see amazing individuals working within the IC. In fact, our director, General Nakasone, recently had a trip out to St. Louis with Admiral Sharp, and he could not stop talking about the amazing talent that he saw while he was out at St. Louis. We also, as part of our competitive advantage, have amazing partnerships. Whether those partnerships are across government, industry, academia, or our allies, it is an amazing part of what brings us together and allows us to have that competitive advantage. In addition, we're all interested in and investing in cutting-edge technology. And we all have a constant desire to innovate. Lastly, I'll say, in part of that competitive advantage is our ability to ensure that we have national and tactical integration. So I'm going to tell a story here for a moment, because prior to being the executive director of US Cyber Command, I was the director of NSA Colorado. And if you don't know about Colorado and Denver, there's a team out there that's really special because it's NRO, NGA, and NSA working in the same building, focusing on intelligence outcomes together. So what I'll tell you in this story, and this is really a good example of national tactical integration and the opportunity for us to talk about deliberate partnering. We had this particular project. I won't be able to go into the details of the project, but I will tell you there was going to be an event that was going to happen in the world, and we thought it was going to happen about 8 weeks in the future. And we had some insights of what was going to happen, so we all got together as a leadership team, and we decided, let's make sure that we're ready for this particular event. We got our best and brightest innovators together, and we talked about different ways that we might attack this problem. And for 6 weeks, we worked on this problem together, automating our opportunities, looking for new innovative ways to fuse GEOINT and SIGINT. And collectively, we came up with an amazing set of capabilities within that very short six weeks period of time. Now, the actual requirement to cover this particular event came in about 4 days before the event happened. And guess what? We were ready. We were ready because we deliberately started off with the idea that we wanted to achieve joint outcomes together. We wanted to achieve joint outcomes because we knew that those outcomes would benefit not only the intelligence community, but also our warfighters, so that they would have the best intelligence possible when they had to deal with that particular real-world event. So I just share that story with you because it's not one of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 stories. It's one of many, hundreds of stories each and every day where the intelligence community is working very closely together and where we are deliberately planning our opportunities to succeed together. So when I think about the future a little bit, I think about MI, machine learning, and automation. And while we can apply all those things in cyber defense, SIGINT and GEOINT, I think as we look together to identify joint projects, I think that's where we have an opportunity to see even greater outcomes. So whether it's efforts to do multi-int tipping and queuing, or the ability for us to do multi-int analysis, or to provide integrated products for our customers, I think that the opportunity space is tremendous, and I look forward to additional opportunities to partner with NGA. Also in our future, I mentioned about the amazing people that we have within the IC. I want to talk to you a little bit about academic outreach for a second, because that's a really important part of what we do at the National Security Agency. So beginning left of launch even of a potential career with the National Security Agency, we're reaching out to even the K through 12 schools in programs like Gen Cyber, focusing on STEM development all the way down at the middle school, elementary school, and high school levels. To give you a quick example, when I was out in Denver a couple years ago, we had one of the local Denver schools participating in Gen Cyber, and it was about 30 14-year-old students who were engaged in STEM work, writing Python programs, working with robotics, all the things you might imagine you might do in a STEM camp, summer camp for students, but they were also speaking Mandarin Chinese the whole time. So when you think about that multi-discipline language analyst, the future of some of the NSA workforce, that ability for them to accomplish both Mandarin Chinese and writing Python at the same time and presenting their projects to us was absolutely amazing. That's working left of launch of a career inside the intelligence community. But I'll also say that we have our high school work study program, where some of our local high schools participate and allow students to come in and work at the NSA with a clearance. And during their senior year, those high school students get a chance to work with NSA and work our mission. I think what I'm most proud of, though, right now is our outreach to the various universities across the nation. We have over 300 partnerships with universities throughout the United States in the area of Centers for Academic Excellence. There's 3 different areas of that program: the Computer Network Defense Research, and Computer Network Operations. 300 different universities, many of them also participating in some of the Cyber Core Scholarship for Service programs. So it doesn't just end there, though. It's not all about recruiting in the best and brightest. We absolutely need to do that. We also need to be conducting really deep research with academia and working with them in helping us solve some of these complex challenges, whether it's machine learning, AI, or other areas of big data and cloud computing. So when I look at what happens after that particular student makes their way to the National Security Agency, we also want to make sure we retain those individuals. So having that opportunity for joint duty assignments across the IC, or having really awesome career development programs that allows our employees to continue to learn throughout their entire career. I've worked with NSA for over 32 years. I've had a chance to work on the defensive mission, and I've also had a chance to work on the signals intelligence mission. And throughout those years, I've had many different opportunities to continuously learn throughout my career. So I think making sure that we have those career development programs in place is absolutely critical. I also believe that the future has to focus on persistent innovation. Innovation is absolutely key. I talked earlier about that ever-changing environment. In this great era of power competition, our adversaries are changing rapidly. We also need to be able to change rapidly. So many of our leaders are out there doing a great job. And I'm not saying that every leader needs to be an innovator, but at the minimum, every leader needs to be able to recognize and identify innovation and foster that innovation in their work area in order for us to be successful. So those dynamic threats require dynamic change in order for us to outmaneuver our adversaries. So let me talk to you a little bit more about the future as well, and making sure that we are not only agile in our work, but also deliberate in our teamwork across the IC. So I'm going to tell you another story about my time in Colorado, working with NGA, NRO, and of course our NSA team. We would spend deliberate time together at least 16 to 20 hours a week, where NSA and NGA and NRO leadership worked on and developed joint strategies together, executed those strategies, focused on joint operations, focused on people development across a variety of mission sets, and developed joint innovation centers together. In the end, we were always looking for joint outcomes. And as I mentioned earlier, in many cases, we were able to achieve that every single day. Some who would come visit and continue to visit that particular facility are amazed at and sometimes comment on how the eyes and the ears of the intelligence community work so closely together at that particular facility. So what I would say is, let's challenge ourselves to do that in even greater and deeper ways, both at our headquarters and many of our other locations around the globe. So just to kind of give you a little bit more on some of the work that we're doing in the area of machine learning and AI, I'll give you some background. NSA started doing some of that work. If you go back all the way back into the early 2000s, when we started some of our early versions of MI machine learning. Now when I look at the amazing opportunities with the data sets that we have and the opportunities to converge the GEOINT data sets and some of the SIGINT data sets, I think those present some terrific opportunities. I'd also like to just say that that deliberate partnership will really pay big dividends. And to close, I just would like to say that NSA has a really great partnership with the GEOINT community. And I want to make sure that we offer to Admiral Sharp that continued deep partnership and opportunity to work some of these really challenging problems together. And with that, I would like to take some questions.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much, David. We have a number of questions here, and some of them are in the same category. Let me group a couple of them together. Let me first start with, what advice would you give to a newly minted NSA employee about how to have a successful career at NSA?
Well, first off, as a newly minted NSA employee, I would look at some of the development programs that we have, whether they're in the computer science area, whether in the applied mathematics area, because some of those career development programs give you that great opportunity to network over a course of 2 to 3 and even 4 years, depending on that particular program, and allows you to test drive different parts of the NSA enterprise. I should have mentioned earlier that our enterprise in NSA is not just about what we do at Fort Meade, but we have opportunities for our employees to work in Hawaii, Texas, Colorado, Georgia, and many other locations around the globe.
Okay. Terrific. I've got 2 questions on a very interesting topic, and it's in the topic of space resilience, but not necessarily from a hardware standpoint. And so I'll read them both together and allow you to comment on them collectively. The first one is, how can companies safeguard satellites from cyber threats? And the companion question is, spacecraft are becoming more and more autonomous. Does that increase the threat posed by hackers? If so, what should be done?
Well, first off, your threats are not just in the space segment. You also have to consider your ground segment and look at the whole entire holistic architecture of how you're integrating and operating your space environment. So step 1 in our cyber security mission at NSA is providing advisement and guidance. Many of those pieces of advisement and guidance are published on nsa.gov so that you can identify the proper ways, best commercial practices in implementing your systems and architectures. Second, I mentioned that cyber is a changing environment. Every single day, even as I've been speaking here today, there have been a multitude of changes that have occurred in the cyber environment, whether it's patches or viruses that have been delivered or malware. So keeping those systems patched is absolutely critical. And lastly, I would say understanding and subscribing to even some of the more sensitive threat intelligence is key to protecting and changing those protections as the threat changes over time.
Great, thank you very much. Fair enough. It's a topic that I'm sure we'll be discussing a lot over the years to come. Here's an interesting question. Cyber threats originate from a physical location. So how can we better integrate GEOINT and SIGINT cyber targeting to support both cyber and physical operations to neutralize those threats?
First off, that's a great question. And I know that we have done some of this work in the past. I would say that there is more work to be done. And when you think about the physical environment, the location of adversaries, and how they are applying their skills and people towards their cyber missions against the United States or our allies, it's important for us on the signals intelligence side of the house and also in the cyber defense side of the house to partner with NGA to discover more.
Great, thank you. Here's one, and forgive me if I've got the acronyms wrong, but you'll help me along if I've missed it. How do you see is it the JCC2 or the ICC2 and GEOINT data being fused through a joint capability? JCC, ICC? too?
So I'll just take the question of fusion of data.
Fair enough, yeah.
And we'll go with that. First off, I think as others before me have mentioned, it's critically important that we work together on some of our data standards, data tagging opportunities, and then even down to the lowest level possible where we can identify classification of data even at the cell level, depending on the types of data that we're dealing with. And what that allows us to do is then provide that ability for a common way of doing cross-correlation and then dissemination at the lowest classification possible. When you think about our warfighters and many of our tactical users out there, they're not necessarily sitting there with a top secret terminal ready to receive our intelligence. So we have to think more broadly about those opportunities when we classify and then disseminate that information both in a GEOINT, multi-INT environment.
Terrific, thank you. Here's a question that I don't have, but I know that many people you are dying to ask, and that is, how's the integration of NSA and Cyber Command really going?
So from an NSA perspective, the integration between NSA and Cyber Command is working very well. And because I'm also the executive director for Cyber Command, I'll give you the view from Cyber Command. I will tell you that NSA is our most important partner. When you look at the work that both of us did, along with the rest of the interagency and the IC to help protect the midterm elections, that was absolutely critical work as we focused on those actors that wish to use malign influence against the U.S. and our democratic process. So that took a team. It took a team from Cyber Command, it took a team from NSA, and it took a lot of coordination working closely with DHS, working closely with FBI, and working closely with the rest of the U.S. government to ensure that we could counter those threats. That's just one example, and that's one I can actually talk about today.
Right, great, thank you. I guess a related question that we had here that I missed, and that was, there's been a revolution, so to speak, in terms of industry with respect to GEOINT and small sats and things of that nature. Is there an equivalent revolution that you see, or is already happening, or will be happening for the technologies more applicable to cyber and SIGINT?
Well, first I'll touch on the cyber side. Absolutely, there is an amazing set of new mission partners in industry that focus on cyber threat intelligence and that present innovative capabilities for cyber defense within our nation. So we work very closely with many different companies. I'll give you an example. On the Cyber Command side, we have a facility called Dreamport. Dreamport.tech, T-E-C-H, if you'd like to look it up. That's where we bring in companies to focus on new innovative cyber defensive capabilities. And in that realm, we're able to kick the tires, work closely with that company, and then conduct rapid prototyping events to ensure that we look at those products to see if they meet the requirements of the Department of Defense.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, well that concludes our questions today. I will just kind of end the comments too, David. Thank you very much. I will say that if you haven't been into NSA Colorado or in some of the other adjacent places, I mean, that's where intelligence integrations happens for sure. Some amazing things are done out there. We thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your time this morning, and we wish you nothing but the best. So,
thank you.
Great. Thanks. Great.